right, everybody. Coach Talk, what is this, number 14 or 13? I don't even know what this is here. From the gym, but I want to address some questions as usual that came in for me. We're just going to dive right in because we've got about 12 or 15 minutes and we've got 3 pretty juicy questions. So, how much talk is too much talk? And then this coach goes on to say, I've heard that 80-20 is a good measure. I guess that's the client talking 80%, coach talking 20%. I tend to speak as much as they do with lots of silence. So what I would say about that is it's less about, it needs to be 50-50 or 20-80 or 60-40 or any other stuff. Is really your job is to, I talk about satisfy the vibe. Pay attention to what's going on. I'm looking over here at the camera. What's going on in the energy and everything like that. There's going to be times where you are going to talk more, and someone might say, well, a good coach should listen more. Well, sometimes people need to learn and listen to something, and you might have a piece of wisdom for them, and they might say, well, I don't understand, and you explain what you're talking about, and that might take 30 seconds, a minute, or 2 minutes while you're explaining or telling a story or drawing up a metaphor for how you see what's going on for them. And then if you take a snippet of that, 5 or 6 minutes of that, all that coaching, and say, well, the coach talked 70% of the time. Well, yeah, absolutely, because the client was seeing something from their vantage point of what I'll call intoxication. I often talk about intoxication versus sobriety. Sobriety being, clear-headed, in alignment with yourself, self-union, and intoxication being more in your demons and your saboteurs and, scammers, I call it. So how much do you talk? As a coach, you speak so we both are on the same page with what we're talking about. You speak to make sure you're understood. If you're not, you'll speak. But yeah, hell yeah, you want to be doing lots of asking questions, and you want the client doing lots of talking, and at the same time, you got to leave space for plenty of silence. All right, I've probably answered the question sufficiently, and if you've got another question, if you're the one who asked, feel free to join in and just ask for ask a question to create clarity. But what else did I want to say about this? Oh, silence. Silence is huge, and I don't often talk about silence. No, that's kind of a fun thing. I don't often talk about silence, but silence is the workshop. That's the workshop where your client does his or her thinking. And if you, coach, are busy talking over it and clarifying and asking another question and refining your question and articulating again and naming what you see, you actually don't even allow your client to think. People don't think very good. This is my belief, right? And so as a matter of fact, if I was coaching you all right now, or any one individual, I might assert this, like, hey, people don't think very good. And that's why they come to coaching, or one of the reasons they come is to clarify their thinking, allow themselves a space to do their thinking and to say stupid things as well as smart things and find out which is which and sort them out and hear themselves and to be able to choose powerfully what they do believe and how they want to live. Now, the problem with as I mentioned, the question was, how much should I talk? That's way, way less the point. As I've already mentioned, the beauty about silence is, in silence, your client gets to think. What most coaches do, that I've perceived, I've done thousands and thousands of one-on-one mentor sessions with people, and I could be guilty of this too, I'm sure sometimes, is talking too much. But when you ask a great question, let it have its full effect. Let it do its work. Because as soon as you do, what happens is people get quiet, and they typically wait a moment. Is that coach going to talk? Is it safe? Until they recognize, that who you are as a coach, there's plenty of space to think and, not be intruded upon. But they think they wait a moment, then they see that you're going to be quiet, and then they begin to think. So sometimes that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seconds before they actually start beginning the thinking. And again, how much should you talk? How much should they talk? How much silence? My gosh, I've had minutes of silence before in coaching. And it's where the client, not only has their initial emotion, their initial thoughts, but the thoughts and the emotions unfold until finally they've done all this work all in silence without me having to do anything but sit quietly and sort of frame the space, so to speak. So, all right, great. Let's go to our second question. Second question. Some of my clients appreciate the coaching. feels sort of therapeutic, which is good. Yeah, it's not therapy, but it's therapeutic. That's a great distinction. But how much do I ensure I'm challenging them into the actions and the goals that they came for? Okay? I feel sometimes I put pressure on myself to kick ass to kind of counterbalance them just wanting to talk it out. And when does that talking it out not lead to tangible results? And then that talking out doesn't lead to tangible results. Okay, cool. So this is actually sort of akin to the question prior. You know, I just taught a course a few days ago, and I drew this thing out. I don't have the graphic with me, but I've created a graphic that sort of looks like the Parthenon in Greece. So if you've not seen that, there's some steps that lead up to it. Think of a Greek architecture and a series of pillars, and then, you know, a gorgeous roof line. People come, if you can imagine what they come for, is represented by those pillars. You know, that's what I came for. I came to make the $1 million, get the husband or wife, you know, and I often say then also, like, you know, find my God, you know, 3 big things, you know, and of course it'll be health, or it'll be whatever it is that they came for. But they came for those things. And so often coaches will say something like, what do you want to work on today? Well, that's a great question. And I'm a big fan of what do you want to work on today? Well, I want to, so I'm going to coach myself, which these videos are coming too where I coach myself. But for now, you get a little snippet here. What do you want to work on today? I want to be a better father. Okay, great. Coach, you'd better begin by, what does that even mean? You got to define your terms. What does it mean to be a better father? Okay, great. And off you go. Okay, cool. So if better father is not represented by one of those pillars, by one of those things that the client actually came for, because they're paying you good money to get God, get wife or husband, get the money, and now they want to talk about being a better father. You know, though they are not paying you directly, oftentimes for, well, hold on, let me strike that. Strike that. Your job is to help them get those things they came for, period. End of the conversation. Now, no problem. They want to get coaching on being a better father. They want to get coaching on being more diligent in their lawn care or whatever it is that they want to do. It doesn't really make a difference. That's fine. Your job, though, is to make it relevant to be really clear. Hey, okay, we're not going to talk about God, wife, or money. We're going to talk about this, yeah? Okay, cool. Because they are paying you for those things. Now, that said, your job is to make that which they want to work on relevant to their life in general and relevant to those things that they came to the coaching for. Now, how do you do that? Well, if I'm talking about being a better father, then being a better father requires me what? To be better, right? So we're always coaching who the person is and not what they do, not the circumstances. So it's always, you know, what kind of man do you need to be, Ron, in order to be the father you want? I need to be, you know, patient, you know, courageous, you know, whatever. And you're going to sort of flesh that out. Help the client get the client get an experience of that. How do they stand? How do they breathe? How do they move? How do they hold themselves? What are the thoughts associated with that? And as they do that increasingly, they get a sense of this is what it means to be a good father, or whatever it is they were looking for. You were helping them be with. Okay. And then your job is to say, okay, great, so what do you do and all that stuff. And actually, I think the question number 3 talks about accountability. But then your job is to say, great, so if you bring these qualities to getting the money or working on what we've been working on, right, with the wife or the God, if you bring those qualities there, what's possible, right? So it's not just a random conversation that happens off sides. No. It's a relevant conversation of what's going on in the client's life, as well as directly addressing what is vital that the client actually came to the coaching for. So in this description of the Parthenon I talked about is the agenda that the client might bring at any given in any given session is sort of represented by the steps. So the steps help them address the pillars, which supports the main thing, which is really the main thing. And the main thing is the qualities of being, the experience the person really wants to have of their lives. That's sort of the roof in my example here. So I hope that makes a little bit of sense. And now to address the question directly that the coach asked. I mean, look, if you're paying attention to, I'm just going to read this question a little bit quick here, blah, blah, blah. Oh, put pressure on myself to counterbalance, just talk about it, and kicking ass. So, yeah, you know, and sometimes clients just need to talk things out and think things through and sort things out. As I said in my first, in addressing the first question. No problem at all. But you're still going to draw, what are you now aware of? What are you now clear about? And that too will be used then to address the pillars that the client came for. And kicking ass, you know what, it goes back to feeling the vibe. I mean, you better be kicking some ass. You better be doing some things. You better be moving them forward. But kicking ass doesn't always mean, what are you going to do by when? How am I going to know? Go, go, go. Sometimes kicking ass is shutting up and listening and not saying anything for a long time. Again, as we talked about earlier, so that the client can just think. That could be ass kicking for your client, to just have a space where they've got to deal with their own thoughts, right? So the whole point, though, is people come to the coaching for what they come to the coaching for. You better be. You've got to be addressing those things. You've got to be paying attention to this moment and what the client needs while you're, it's sort of a nested thing. While you're addressing what's needed right now for the client, what they came to the coaching for, who they really want to be, and there's other layers in there for sure. But you've got to let the spirit be your guide. Indeed, it's let the moment be your guide. Okay, all right. 2 down, 1 more to go. Let's see. How can I improve my storytelling? That's the essence of the question. In service of my clients, to make a point, offer potential meaning and insight, and just to relate or normalize. The person goes on to say that I'm a good storyteller. They've experienced me in group coaching, as well as in my Uncompromised coach's gym, and have heard me use use personal anecdotes and such, and says, you're a good storyteller. Have you always been a good storyteller? I don't even think I'm a great storyteller. I mean, give me hearts and thumbs up and everything else if you think I'm brilliant, make me feel better. But I think I'm a decent storyteller. What I think that I do is that's effective is I'm really present with my clients, I'm present with myself, and present with this moment. And to me, that's when coaching happens. Fully present with me, fully present with my client, fully present in the moment, right? And when I'm there, I suddenly become aware of, as I'm listening to you, perhaps as my client, or we're just both in silence, I become aware of, wow, I've experienced that before. And if I can share something that I've experienced before in a way that actually makes it about you and not about, it's not getting my needs met, then that's a great thing to follow through on. So that's a trust your gut type thing. And you're going to make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes you're going to tell stories that are about you, for you, and you're going to go, after the call, you're going to go, oh my gosh, that was about me getting my needs met. And that's fine. That's fine, because you're going to realize what a goober you were, and you won't make that mistake again. You'll get back on your horse, and you'll be a little better next time. You'll be a better storyteller in the sense of knowing when to tell the story or when it's really about you. As far as becoming a good storyteller in general, thank you. You're welcome. I just got to thank you here. As far as being a good storyteller in general, you know what? Go take a storytelling class, join Toastmasters. There's probably 100 other things you can do. But to me, if you share something from your heart, you do it in a relatively bottom line way. People get an awful lot out of have someone sharing or hearing someone share a common life experience. The one I've shared a bunch of times with people is when I was about 20, I lost a friend who was 27, and he died of cancer, and it stunk. It was a long, drawn-out train wreck. And about the time I was, in my late 20s, and I was coaching somebody around the same age who was dying of, I don't remember what it was dying of, but I remember saying, my gosh, I lost a friend who was 27, and it's so hard. I remember just watching him slowly pass over the course of months, and then I just shut up. I mean, it's a little tiny story, but it had an amazing impact on the client, because they felt, oh my gosh, he gets it, and it allowed them to go deeper into his experience, his emotions, and letting him have his process, so to speak. So that's one little example of a story that you might tell. I think share stories, practice, you'll get better at them. Don't worry if you make a mistake. If you wake up and realize you're making it about you, just stop or clean it up and check out with the client. What do you get out of that, or does that make any sense to you, or what does that story awaken or turn on in you? If anything, it might not. And as long as you're humble with it and not assuming that this story now will bring enlightenment to somebody, it can be really, really, really of service. So, all right, I hope that answers the question to each of the three of you who posed them. And if you have more questions, post your comments and questions below. I'll see about addressing. Next week's call is already pretty full, but post some questions and I'll get them covered in the subsequent weeks. All right? Don't forget to visit my YouTube channel, by the way. We've got, I think, 12 or 13 of these videos at this point already up, as well as some other videos where I debrief the wisdom from the Uncompromised Coach's Gym in 3, 5, 6-minute videos and some other videos as well. So, peace to y'all. Coach Uncompromised. I'll see you next week. If you got something from this video, click like and subscribe in the center of the screen. There's a lot more videos and interviews on my channel. If you'd like to learn more about coaching Uncompromised, hit the icon on the left. If you'd like to see some more videos on living uncompromised, tap the icon on the right. If you have any questions, comments, or if you want me to cover any other topic, just write me below.